Yes, yes, yes. What is up? What is up, MCR family? Another semi-weekly edition of the show, live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Obviously, podcast form, you know where to find us. It's a lot to get to on today's show. Unfortunately, we have no Rob on today's show. That's a real bummer. He was supposed to be on. He can't make it. But we have a lot of topics to get to, some UK topics as well. And remember, guys, go support and subscribe to his new channel, UK Raw Boxing. Always support the homies. But we have a lot to get to on today's show. Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder 3, not happening. And I called that shit a while ago. I just want to say that. I don't know if that's true I called it. But I called it first. Okay?
You said it wasn't happening this year. I don't know that you said it wasn't happening.
Maybe because I didn't realize that if it didn't happen this year, they have no contractual obligation to fight each other. That's kind of a little bit new information, I feel like. Maybe I'm wrong about that aspect of it. But digressing, Gary, I called it first before anyone else. We here at MCR. You called it too, Gary. Don't worry. I'll give you credit. Like 20% credit.
No, I said it would happen this year.
Oh, then fuck you. All me. Canelo and DAZN's lawsuit. We're going to update you guys on that as it's being moved to federal court now, away from state court. Spence Garcia confirmation in Dallas, December 5th, I think was the date. Kell Brook not having Dominic Ingle as his trainer. Chocolatito and Ron Francisco Estrada back on. Yes, I know.
My question is just good news. Just go with it.
Good news. It's good news. It seems like it's going to happen. Ioka versus Tanaka date. Like, there's a lot to get to on today's show, actually. Ryan Garcia, Luke Campbell finally confirmed. It does seem like, I will say this before we get to any topic. Golden Boy and DAZN definitely seem to be working together a lot more lately. I don't know if that means anything for Canelo and DAZN, but Golden Boy, I think they got their tail between their legs right now. Digressing, though, back to Gary in Dallas. The Robin to my Batman. Maybe the Alfred to my Batman because, you know, the gray. But Gary, how are you? How are you, man?
I'm good. It's good to be back. Yeah, I gotta say, not having any fights on Saturday night was kind of fun. I got to watch other things. I got to watch a ton of college football, right? It was okay. I haven't had a weekend of no boxing. Well, I guess during the pandemic before Top Rank boxing back, but with all the boxing that we have televised and streamed now, when was the last, besides the pandemic, the last weekend we had, last Saturday we had with no boxing? Saturday night. It's been a while, right?
It has been. It has. Yeah. Especially since we had a ton of midweek cards. Like, we had a ton of Thursday and Tuesday cards. So it's been a bit since we haven't had boxing actually for a while, even though it's been a pandemic period, obviously, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, when it first broke out in March, April, May, and then Top Rank came back in June, and even since then, I feel like we've had boxing every Saturday.
Yeah,
we didn't have boxing Friday or Saturday. We had the Liam Williams Cup. That's in the afternoon. In the US. And I watched that Sunday because I watched the Longhorns lose in overtime to Oklahoma.
I didn't watch any mainstream sports. I didn't even watch the Lakers last night.
I watched it for about 2.5 quarters, and I said, "Okay, it's 24. If they can get it at 15, I'll watch again." And then it was 30. I was like, "All right, I'm not watching this anymore."
It did seem like a blowout. I saw the score like in the third quarter. It was like 78 to like 40 something, I think. And I'm like, whoa.
It was bad. And it's like, then you have all that momentum and you can taste the championship.
It's done.
It was just over with. Yeah. Kudos to Miami, though. They played without their second best player. They played well. They were a 5 seed. They swept Milwaukee or beat Milwaukee in 5. They swept Milwaukee, right?
Sure, Gary. I don't know.
Bubble basketball has been great. Too bad nobody watched it. It was great.
Dude, no one watched sports.
I don't understand the ratings. Like, why the playoffs were probably the best playoffs I ever saw. Seriously.
The ratings for every sport's down. NFL, NBA, MLB, even NHL is down like 60-something%, right? Like, there's some sports that are down drastically, obviously. Boxing's been down, you can argue. Maybe that's because they've been putting out a lot of subpar content. But for the mainstream sports, that's not the case, right?
I guess we'll find out this Saturday. I mean, what's a good number? Well, we'll get into that. But what do you think a good number is for Lomachenko Lopez?
Do you want to break that down today's show, or do you want to wait until like Wednesday and try to get Rob on the show for that.
I want to get Rob on the show. I'd love to get the other guy, Foogatti with the beard. Remember him? I'd love to have him on the show too, but I mean, I guess we can't get greedy.
Here's the deal: in order for that to happen, probably it would need to be like me and you, like you two, you and Foo in Texas, right? It'd be like a late night show, and for Rob to be in the morning, and him just be like on his phone, I guess, because like that's the only way all four of us can get on at the same time. I feel like just everyone's schedule is so different now. It's an unfortunate nature. But we will preliminary talk about Loma Lopez. How about that? We'll give our sort of like preliminary picks or predictions, even though like they won't change in a few days, but they also haven't changed for weeks now. I feel like our opinions have been set for some time. We've been talking about it for some time. We can talk about it more than once this week. Not a big deal. What else do we have this weekend, actually? Yeah, the Richardson card.
Yeah, the Lewis Richardson card.
Whoa.
And Kendo Castaneda fights.
Hey, but a few days after that, you have a card in Milan, Italy.
Is that a midweek card?
It looks like a midweek card, I would assume.
Yeah. Dario Morello's on that card. Who else is on that card? There was a couple of names none of y'all heard of unless you keep your ear to the Italian boxing grindstone.
Gary, can you talk to the mic?
I could.
Thank you. Turn yourself up a little bit. You sound a little bit low.
All right.
And I've been like an audio snob with Gary's audio like all pre-show, so I apologize, people. I apologize. But let's get to the topics because we have a lot of topics to get to. Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, not happening this year. Tyson Fury has moved on. Frank Warren has confirmed this issue. It looks like both guys will be looking for tune-ups in the first quarter of next year, maybe this last quarter, separately, of course. Gary, your immediate reaction and thoughts to Wilder and Fury not fighting this year and most likely not fighting next year, it seems.
No, they're not fighting. And I know the popular trend, the internet meme, the boxing world is going to say Wilder ducked the fight. Any evidence to suggest that that's true? Any at all? You know, I don't know if there is or there isn't, but like,
is that really like the consensus out there?
I mean, not yet, but it's going to be, right? You already got Foogatti in the group chat saying he's 40 more fights till he takes another good one. Can I ask you who Fury fought? And I'm a Fury fan. I like Wilder too. I like any fighter really from the South. But like, who did Fury fight in between Wilder fights, and who did he fight before Wilder? He fought 4 guys you never heard of, 4 guys who were complete cab drivers, right? Like, Fury's resume isn't the greatest thing in the world either. Like, everyone gives Wilder a hard time. Honestly, Wilder's fought more good fighters than Fury has. Fury's fought 2 good guys, Chisora twice and Wilder twice. Who else? And Klitschko. Okay, he's fought 3 good fighters. That's it. Like, and I like Fury. I'm a Fury guy.
You're gonna make me do this, aren't you? Oh my god. And who has Wilder fought?
Luis Ortiz twice. Okay.
Chisora.
Chisora. I mean, he didn't fight Chisora.
No, I'm saying it's like Chisora.
Chisora, right.
Yeah, it's similar. It's comparable.
All right. I hate this.
Fury twice.
Fury twice. You know, like, it's not...
Remains to Vern.
Remains to Vern.
Gerald Washington.
Johan
Duhapis.
But Gerald Washington as a heavyweight.
Artur Szpilka.
Steve Cunningham. Like, those are comparable names at heavyweight, right? Like, neither one of those guys are really...
Fury has a better resume.
He does.
He does. Like, you can't say that Wilder has a better resume. I'm sorry. Like,
he doesn't. That's fair, right? But like, it's not like Fury's resume is like Joshua's, where he fights everyone in the top 10 all the time. He doesn't.
No, I don't think either of them are like AJ in the sense of how often they fight top level competition.
He fights Max Schwartz. Was that his name?
No, Tom Schwartz.
Tom Schwartz. And
was it? I don't know. I don't remember.
That's what I'm saying. That's who he fights. And he fights Francesco Patera and some other guy. Like,
Pinata.
Like, I think Fury's really good. I think he's the best heavyweight to come along in a while until Usyk clears out the division. But like, let's not take like Fury's fighting murderer's row here.
No, but he still has a Hall of Famer on his resume that he beat.
40 years old.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Manny Pacquiao was 42 and he dog walked Keith Thurman. Okay, like it doesn't matter, man. I mean, Mayweather can come back and beat up a bunch of people. Like if you're old and great, it doesn't matter how much you're old if you're still great. And Klitschko at that time was still the guy.
He was,
especially since I think at that point Vitaly had already retired.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. So I mean, Klitschko was the guy still, the guy. There was no dispute about it. And even though it wasn't a great fight, Fury clearly won the fight. It wasn't a good fight, but he clearly won it.
He won every round in my car.
It's similar in a way of like Kell Brook and Sean Porter, where like Kell Brook clearly won that fight, but like no one enjoyed it.
No, not a single person.
But there's no one that can really say Sean Porter won that fight, even
the same people that say Danny Garcia beat Keith Thurman. Those same people. The people that say Cotto beat Canelo, which was a good fight, right? But like Canelo clearly won that fight. He won 8-9 rounds of that fight. There are people to this day say Cotto beat Canelo. It's like, what fight were you watching?
I don't think this is an issue of ducking. Like, I think if any, I think if any fan out there or media member is talking about someone ducking the other in this situation, is just a little bit ignorant of the economics right now at play. There's a reason Spence Garcia can kind of get on with 20% capacity, right, at AT&T Stadium. There's a reason why they don't want to do it with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Because the amount of money that fight makes in comparison to the amount of money that Spence Garcia makes or Loma Lopez makes, it's just exponentially different. Like, we're talking about apples and oranges here. Like, we're talking about like a major baseball team like the Yankees versus like a minor league team in terms of like actual profit bringing in, like the ratio, right? Like,
I was gonna say a championship game versus a regular season game, but I mean the minor league baseball game is a little harsh because it's
harsh. It's harsh. But let's be honest, like the money that a Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder trilogy fight brings in at this point in time is monstrous. They don't want to waste that, and I get it. Like I've that's why I've said from day one, I'm doubtful of these mega fights happening during this time when they can't get the gate revenue in, and the networks clearly don't want to offset that cost in any way. Advertisers don't want to offset that cost in any significant way. So why would these big fights happen? Like, they're just not going to.
Apparently not. But like, don't people need to? I guess they don't need to make money if they have their spending under control, right? But like, don't like the people involved need to make money? I guess Fury and Wilder don't, right? Like, at least not right now. Like, I'm good. Like, I can wait this out, which they are. And the promoters obviously are. Bob Arum will make less money this year than if they had a second fight, but he's not hurting for money.
No, he's a fucking multi-millionaire, man.
I'm saying.
He has generational wealth, man. He is good. He is set. No one cares. Like, they're the only people that care are the fans, right? Like, people that want to see this fight. We're the ones that lose out. I think, honestly, it's probably a net benefit for both guys to take a tune-up. I've usually not been the biggest fan of immediate rematches, though I've never been against them per se in this case. But I think Wilder, especially with the new training team, could use a tune-up. I think Tyson Fury loves tune-ups.
It's the only guy who takes more tune-ups than regular fights. In his 6 fights back, he's got 4 tune-ups and 2 real fights.
I wouldn't say he's the only guy that does that.
You never let me get away with hyperbolic statements ever. You check me every time.
He's one of the many, many fighters that takes more tune-ups than legitimate competitive hard fights. So I don't think this is the biggest end of the world scenario here. Like, AJ's taking a tune-up in Pulev, in my opinion. Let him take tune-ups. It's okay. Like, it's not the end of the world. Honestly, if this saves us from spending another $75 on pay-per-view this year, I'm cool with it.
No, I am too. And Pulev is a tune-up, like what's his name? Jamal James or Jesse or someone like that. Like, he's a tune-up who you should beat, but it's a good test, right? Like, Pulev's a good fighter. He's not gonna win, but he's good. Like, I mean, it's not a fight that anyone wants to see.
We're having some questions from Ricky Ellis, Liam Roscoe. A lot of people talking about, like, does anyone really want to see a trilogy fight between the two? I do. I don't understand why anyone would be against the idea of a trilogy fight, to be quite honest. I don't see why a draw in the first fight, which was competitive, and a pretty one-sided rematch would automatically mean that we never want to see a trilogy fight between two out of the top 3 heavyweights of their era. Right? Like, that just, I don't get that logic, to be quite honest.
No, the question wasn't, would you rather see a trilogy than a Joshua Fury fight? That was the question. The question was, do you want to see a trilogy? Yeah, I want to see a trilogy. I'd rather see Fury fight AJ, right? Like, if I had to pick one, I'd rather see that one. But do I want to see Fury and Wilder again? Yeah, I want to see it again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just like I want to see like Usyk fight all 3 of them. Just like I want to see AJ fight all 3 of them. You know, I want
tournament. You have Fury Wilder on one side of the bracket and AJ Usyk, and then you get Usyk and Fury in the finals. Or Wilder, if he wins. The only one we know wouldn't win would be Joshua.
Rob is asking if I've read the article. Yeah, I read the article, but I don't understand why you asked me if I read the article. Rob, like, do you have a point or like an actual question?
I was just, you know.
No, it's Rob. You know Rob. Have you read the article, Matt?
It's like when a cop asks you if you have ID. You're not getting it. But yeah, I have ID. I mean, that's a weird question.
You know, Rob wants us to like shit on Shelly Finkel. And like, oh, did Shelly Finkel lie? Yeah. Oh, wait, did a manager lie to the media? Wow. Oh my God, people. Like, I didn't know they did that. Are you going to tell me next that promoters lie? No, that's not real. Yeah, Shelly Finkel's going to lie for his fucking client. And he has his particular news outlet, World Boxing News, that he puts out information to. Like, of course. But it's just not shocking to me in any way. I don't know if Rob wants us to say that like Wilder's ducking. Is that what Rob wants us to say?
Probably. I told you that's going to be the trending argument. That's going to be the theme.
Rob saying there's details in here that people need. I mean, I'm looking over again. I don't know what the details people really want. I feel like we've already stated it. Like, the fight's not happening. It's been pushed off due to basically just venue issues from the look of it. Venue and gate issues, and that's about it. Shelly is trying to say it's still happening to save face, and as expected, that's what you do as a manager. But as the loser in the rematch that's trying to get the fight, of course they're trying to save face, right? Fury won. Like, he's in a position where he can walk off, and that's why he is far more willing to say, like, I want to go take a tune-up right now. I don't care about this, because he won the last fight. Wilder is the one that lost reputation, like lost some like sort of prestige in the last fight that he's trying to get back. So that's why they're trying to save face. Rob saying the contract expired Friday. Yeah, I mean, I think I stated that earlier, that like the rematch has expired. So yes. PSK saying, I think you need. I think he's leading you to talk about Team Wilder. Keep moving the date all the way to 2021. Well, of course they're moving the date. They're trying to keep gate revenue. Like that. That's why I fall back to, like, are people truly ignorant of the situation here? They want to make out like Wilder's one that pushed off the date. He's trying to save face here, and therefore he's ducking. No, they want to make money, and they can't make as much money right now. Like, that's end of story. And you got to be honest here, and I thought about it too. The idea of like moving Wilder Fury or Fury Wilder 3 to like Dallas Stadium, right? AT&T Stadium, right? Let's say if Spence Garcia wasn't moved, they would just take that sort of game plan and take it to AT&T Stadium with 20, 40% capacity. They're probably thinking, if we can move it to that stadium, why don't we just wait till it has full capacity and make all that money in that gate revenue? So again, we're falling back to, they don't want to lose money on a mega fight. It's the same reason why we're not going to get any legitimate Canelo fight right now. And we're still hearing about Canelo versus Yildirim, for fuck's sake. Let alone that just the WBC trying to sort of, I don't know, flex to a degree. But it's a fight that is cheap. We're going to get these cheaper fights for these superstars right now. I don't understand what the controversy is.
So you can put, like you said, the difference in revenue between Garcia and Spence and the Wilder Fury fight.
Quickly. I want, because Scott Brown is asking this question. I've seen a lot of people say this, okay? Saying, Is the UFC waiting till waiting like boxing to go with fans? No, but the UFC keeps 85% of the revenue in their pocket. That's why. Okay? They're deeply restrictive contracts. It's a company with monopoly power in the industry. There's not a single promotion in boxing that has a monopoly power in the marketplace. That just does not exist. Okay? And also, all these fighters are making on average 70% of the revenue. They're getting that profit share. Okay? While in the UFC, it's not that way. That's why the UFC can make their stars fight top-level guys still, because A, it's restrictive contracts, and B, they still make the lion's share of the money. And I've said this before on shows. For every UFC pay-per-view, ESPN, before a single pay-per-view is bought, before a single ticket is sold, okay, before any fight is made, they give the UFC a golden parachute worth roughly around 300,000 pay-per-view buys in the US, okay, just to have a pay-per-view. Like, it's apples and oranges. Stop comparing, okay, boxing to the UFC. That's like comparing boxing to the New York Yankees. Like, that's how stupid of an argument that is.
The difference between boxing and the Yankees is there's still boxing going on. Bang. Kudos to my boy, Aroldis Chapman, for blowing another season yet again for the Yankees. And this time without cheating.
Are baseball playoffs like already done? Like they already
so it was an extra round this year, right? Because of the way they set this season. The Yankees won the first round. The second round, which would be like the ALDS, which is typically the first round.
I'll be honest. I don't care about this, Gary.
Okay.
Scott on the chat saying UFC has not had fans yet. I know. The reason why they do that is because they have so much of the revenue. Bob Arum, Eddie Hearn, they're not making as much money. Therefore, their company is not making as much money as the UFC. So they can't operate the same way. And also, the way boxing contracts are structured comparative to UFC and MMA contracts is completely different due to the Ali Act. Okay? So again, stop fucking comparing the two. When it comes to how the logistics work for the industry, they're not that comparable. Sorry, this is just a huge pet peeve of mine because I feel like I've ranted about this for years, and a lot of people like Scott Brown have been listening for years, okay, and know this, and yet they still peddle these talking points that they hear from, I don't know, stupid boxing writers like Mike Coppinger, or they peddle talking points from like Zuffa that they've thrown out there through the media for decades. I don't know where they repeat these talking points from because they've been thoroughly debunked forever now.
I never really got like on board with the boxing writers are dumb until I started reading some of the commentary and the writers' takes on the Canelo lawsuit. It's like, yeah, they're pretty stupid. Like, I mean, this is not complicated at all, right? Like, I get like if you don't live in the U.S., like Rob, like why it could be confusing, right? Like, because like a federal court in California, like or state court, like I get why that could be confusing. But like U.S. reporters who cover this, like you can figure this out in 10 seconds. Why Canelo's lawyers did what they did. Right, I was like, I don't understand. Like, yeah, these people they're not smart. They're not right. Like, that's it.
No, Ricky L. No, I agree with you. Sorry, I saw someone in the chat. Ricky L is saying if Wilder versus Fury 2 was in lockdown, COVID-19, it would have been financially viable, but it had lost its value with Fury one-sided beatdown of Wilder. No. I don't know what you're saying here. The gate revenue of that fight, if that was zero, it would not be financially viable. What did the gate revenue do? Like almost like 20 million?
The gate revenue is huge. Yeah.
Like there, oh my God. Do people think that like a company or like an event can just lose $20 million like that? $17 million? Thank you, Rob. $17 million like that, and it's nothing. And there's no other way to get that 17 million that all of a sudden makes the event still financially viable. No. Gary, why do people?
Which is why the other options were trying to get a gate in Vegas, which I thought they were going to do. I thought Nevada was going to say, all right, what's the date of the fight? December 3rd, December 1st, you can have 100% capacity again, right? I thought Nevada, which don't act like they're above that, was going to do that, or they were going to try to put it somewhere in the Middle East, which none of that happened. So now you're just not going to get the fight, or they're not going to put it in the bubble. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to do. That's ridiculous to think that, right? They can't really put it in Cowboy Stadium either, right? Because like the casinos bring in so much revenue, and so you can't match that in a stadium. That's why boxing's biggest fights aren't at Madison Square Garden anymore, because Madison Square Garden can't bring in the revenue that a casino can.
And not saying that like Saudi Arabia or UAE are not like viable like options and sort of ways to get around the gate revenue loss, but for some reason they haven't been going that option for this fight. They want it in the U.S. It seems still like even like Fury's side, like it, all the dates and venue changes that it was seemingly made still kept it in the U.S. largely speaking. Like they flirted a little bit with taking it abroad, but that wasn't legitimate in terms of like them actually going down that route. They want it in the U.S. They want that big gate revenue. They want the media attention that it provides as well when you're fighting here instead of in Saudi Arabia where you don't have the same media attention. Okay, that's why. Okay, like if Fury Wilder 2 happened during COVID, it would not be financially viable. That's why it's not happening now. Plain and simple. Sorry. Moving on, let's talk about the, as you were saying though, the DAZN sort of switch from the federal district court in California, right, and then to the state court in, was it New York?
It was the state court in New York. Yeah.
Yeah. Gary, I thought you explained this pretty well in our group chat as to what is happening and why it's happening. So I'll just give you the floor again to say publicly, why is this happening and what is happening?
Oh, you're going to let me lead? Oh, Jesus, take the wheel, huh? Okay.
Yeah. You did a really good job in the group chat, I think, explaining it to Rob. So I thought you explained it here.
Okay. So the law is that two foreign entities, meaning two entities that are not American, cannot sue each other in federal court. They have to take it to the state court. DAZN, okay, we'll start with Canelo. Canelo lives in Mexico. He's a Mexican citizen. He has a residency in San Diego, in California. The lawyer was hoping that that was going to be enough that would make him not a foreign entity, but an American entity. The other half of that was, which is why it's even more confusing, is Matchroom USA / North America is based in New York. Matchroom itself is based in the UK. So that would be a foreign entity. So whatever reason, Canelo team wants this in federal court. Matchroom doesn't. Matchroom wants it in New York. We can get into the reason, but that's what it was, right? And basically, they appealed it to New York State, right? But right now, it's still in the federal circuit in California. The DAZN is trying to get that thrown out to put in the state court in New York, and saying DAZN is based as a foreign entity based in England. So it's two foreign entities. It can't go to the federal circuit. It has to go to the state court. That state court would be in New York. Does that make sense? I know that's a long-winded.
No, I think it makes perfect sense, and I think it's like the right argument too. Like I think it should be in state court just from that legal argument, so to speak, right, from the how the system is set up. Now, why would DAZN want it in state court, as you sort of alluded to, other than just that's how the system should be?
I don't know why DAZN wants it in state.
Because when in federal court, which is the federal courts, which have largely been filled with people that are anti-labor rights to a degree.
Not that judge. The judge was an Obama. I don't know the judge personally. The judge was not a Trump appointee. It was an Obama appointee. I don't know what that
means. It's a good distinction to have, though. Yeah. Good distinction to have. It is.
The reason Matt says that is because Trump has appointed and added so many judges since in the last 3+ years that, especially like where I live, like the Fifth Circuit Court, which is like the South, like Texas, Louisiana. It's all conservative judges who are all 25 years old, right? Who are serving life terms, who are all appointed by Trump. And you, whatever that, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So if you're labor rights, you wouldn't want to go there. Matt lives like in the, what is that, the 11th District of Appeals?
Yes, sure.
There's California laws, right, which are more worker friendly, labor friendly. And the judges, a lot of them are appointed by Obama. I don't know if there's any hangovers from Bush or Clinton. I guess there are some, right?
Has to be.
Yeah.
At least Bush. That's be some leftovers from Bush.
The Trump appointees are going to be there forever. They're all in their 30s. They're going to be, you know what I'm saying? They have no track record. I'm not trying to get it, but I'm saying they're going to be there for 40 years, 50 years.
Yay. Now, it's also been noted that due to the contract nature between DAZN and between DAZN and Canelo, this should go to private arbitration away from the state court. Do you think, spitballing here, do you think that this is going to end up in arbitration and not actually end up in the state court in New York?
My hope is that it goes to arbitration because it'll be quicker, right? I don't know what it was. DAZN seems to be dragging their feet, and that's where the obstruction lawsuit comes in, right? Part of the lawsuit is that they're obstructing the process by not going to court. Mm-hmm. I think DAZN wants this to go to state court where they think they can do better than if they went to arbitration, right? And I don't know would it be a private arbitrator or would the arbitrator be issued by a court?
I did not read that, or I don't remember that part.
I didn't read it in the article. I guess I think this is going to get hashed out in arbitration because I don't think the zone really wants us to go to that federal court with the Obama point judge on it. So if it's not looking like it's going to go their way, I'd say let's try to do this in arbitration. I think that's what we're going to do. Maybe that's just wishful thinking because it'll be a lot quicker and a lot smoother. That's my gut feeling though, is that I still think Golden Boy, and I still think Canelo is in the driver's seat here, but I don't know. I think that the zone is going to have to say arbitration. Let's take our chances with arbitration.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, we'll keep you updated as much as possible as this situation unravels. Moving on. Manny fucking Pacquiao, guys. Oh, God damn this. Most likely fighting Conor McGregor as he has signed a new deal with Paradigm Sports ahead of the likely fight. Paradigm Sports represents both Conor McGregor and Manny Pacquiao. Gary, you hyped, man?
Look, it's fine. Pacquiao, vacate your belt and just be done with boxing. Like Mayweather was, right? Like when Mayweather fought McGregor, we knew he was done with boxing. So, look, Mayweather's going to, Pacquiao's going to make, $100 million for this garbage. Good for him. God bless him. I don't care. He's not getting my money and I have no interest in it, right? But then let's just be done with the conversation of Pacquiao being a boxer. He's not going to fight Spence. He's not going to fight Crawford. He's not going to fight Porter. He's not going to fight Virgil Ortiz or Boots. He's not going to fight anybody good anymore. He's going to fight fights like this. And that's fine. He's 42 years old. So whatever. But he's not a boxer anymore. That's done with. He's a retired boxer who does spectacles.
Did Jalen Rose say that he wanted Canelo to fight Pacquiao or Canelo to fight Loma?
Loma.
Oh my God. Never mind. Never mind then. Yeah, look, this is one of those circus fights that if it happens, great for them to make money, I guess. If you can make money off of this, I just don't care. I fundamentally don't care. I love the idea of Pacquiao at his old age still duking it out with the young guys. I don't care how much PEDs he's allegedly on. Don't give a fuck. Take him. Take them all. I want him to fight like Crawford, Porter, all these guys. But that's not happening. I think he fought Thurman, got that scalp of the next generation under his belt, and he's good. And he's looking for that big paycheck whenever he can find a break from politics to take that big paycheck and be done with it. That's what it seems like to me. Good for him. Shout out to circus fights, I guess.
That's what he's got, the one up on Mayweather where he beat the great welterweight of this era, right? Where Floyd ducked Thurman and Floyd didn't beat Thurman.
Hold on. I just want everyone here listening. Remember how long that Gary was a caller and he would call in just shitting on Thurman? And now he just mentioned that Thurman was the great welterweight of his generation.
I said of the great, of those.
You didn't say one of. You didn't say one of.
Yes, I did.
We'll roll it back if you want. Okay.
If I didn't, I think I did. If I didn't, I will amend it and say one of those great welterweights, that being Porter, Garcia, Thurman, and Spence or Crawford. Yeah. He's got one. And when I used to dump all over Thurman, it was never on his skills. It was always on him faking injuries. I never said Thurman sucks at boxing. I never said that.
He's Manny has the Super WBA championship, right?
Yeah.
Okay, who's gonna fight for that vacant belt? Let's say if he gets stripped. What's the rankings looking at? Let me look it up. WBA rankings.
Do they have any?
It's gotta be Ugas.
Ugas, right? Ugas has WBA, and they should have Ugas. It's gonna.
Yeah, because Ugas is. Oh my god. It depends what they do, okay? But Ugas is the regular champion. Virgil Ortiz is the gold champion, and Jamal James is the interim champion. So, I mean, and after that, it's Mikey Garcia is next in the ranking.
So what they should do is have Ugas, or they should elevate.
Hold on. Manny Pacquiao, super champion. Ugas, regular champion. Ortiz Jr., gold champion. Jamal James, interim champion. Mike Garcia at number 2, because all those people they don't get a number, right? They just get a belt. Number 3, Gabriel Mazzaretti. Who is that? From Venezuela? Who is this guy?
I was gonna ask where he's from.
I gotta find out who this motherfucker is. Who he's associated with. He has one fight.
What they should do when they force him to vacate for fighting Conor McGregor is have Virgil Ortiz fight Jamal James, and the winner fights Ugas.
I think what we should get is Ugas versus Mikey, and then Jamal James versus Virgil Ortiz.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Because I think, no offense to Virgil Ortiz or Jamal James, but like them fighting for a vacant belt doesn't add any legitimacy to it. Mikey's a multiple weight, division champion. He's a pound for pound guy. He's probably gonna be a Hall of Famer. So him fighting for a vacant belt against Ugas would make a lot of sense. And also that would be a really intriguing fight.
Let me put a twist on that, though. Virgil beats Jamal James for sure, right?
Yeah. I would pick Virgil Ortiz, yeah.
Ugas versus Mikey. What if Mikey wins?
He doesn't.
I don't think so either. But just go that avenue with me. I would pick Ugas. If Mikey wins, Mikey's not fighting Virgil Ortiz. So what happens then? I like your format, but those two guys ain't fighting each other.
Who, Ortiz and
Mikey? Robert Garcia's favorite person and his brother. That fight's not happening. I mean, maybe, but
this is when you make it a unofficial tournament. So one's just an eliminator and one's just for the vacant belt, and it's not really like a tournament per se, right? And that leaves you open because how many times have sanctioning bodies gone back on eliminators?
More often
than not. Again, Gabriel Mazzaretti or whatever his name is, Mastre. I don't know how to write. Maestre. Master, but like in Spanish. Mastre.
Mastre.
Maestre.
Mastre. I would say Mastre.
Right. Gabriel Mystery, I'm gonna call him.
Rey Mysterio.
Again, he has. It's weird because he says he has one fight via 1 KO, but I go down his ranking and it says he has 2 fights via KO. But yet, let's say I'll give him the second fight. He's 2-0. How is a 2-0 motherfucker from Venezuela, okay, ranked number 3? Number 3. He's ranked above Butiev, Rashidi Ellis, David Avanesian, Jesse Vargas, Abel Ramos, Keith Thurman. He's ranked above. Keith Thurman's ranked at number 11. How? Gary, how?
I'm looking this guy up right now to really see if he's.
This guy can't be real, right? I gotta go on box right here. I apologize, people. This is a mystery that needs to be solved.
Yeah, okay. He beat Diego Chavez. I mean, look, that doesn't make you number 2 in the world, but it's a good win. He stopped him. That was in Colombia.
He beat Diego Chavez in his second fight in December last year.
And that's all you need. I mean, the guy's 34 years old. He had an extensive amateur career. You look at his amateur record.
This is so frustrating.
I don't even know what to make of that. The guy's got 2 wins.
Who did he pay? Like, honestly, how much money did they give the sanctioning body for that?
That's what I'm saying, though, right? Like, he's got to be a top rank guy, right? I mean, who else would pay that kind of money to have him? But then it would be a WBO belt, right? Like, I don't know. I don't.
It could be like Samson's box or something like that.
Do they have enough money to get, like, the welterweight division is a big money division? Do they have enough money to pay to get him?
Well, it could be one of the situations where, like, let's say PBC doesn't really care too much because, like, they don't really pay Pacquiao the sanction fee. Pacquiao pays his own probably through his purses. Ugas they pay for. Jamal James they pay for, and that's it. Oh, and Keith Thurman at number 11. Ortiz is Golden Boy. Butiev is Golden Boy, isn't he? Yeah. Rashidi Ellis. So you get a lot of Golden Boy payment there. Matchroom has a bunch of guys too, like Jesse Vargas, Mikey Garcia, for example. So it's the sanctioning body in terms of this ranking itself is not that stacked with a bunch of names that are going to cost a lot of money. Again, Butiev is number 4. Abel Ramos is 8, above Keith Thurman. Like, clearly, like, just no one's paying for these sanctioning fees that much. And that's how you get a mystery man, Gabriel, over here at number 2 or 3.
I don't get why they do this, right? Like, who's the best welterweight without a belt? It's Sean Porter. He's number 1. He should be number 1. Who's the second best guy without a belt? Virgil Ortiz. He should be number 2. Unless you want to say Keith Thurman, but Keith Thurman just had a chance. If you want to put Thurman down and make him win a fight in the interim, okay, fine. Porter's done that. Virgil Ortiz would be the next guy. Those should be ranked 1 and 2. I don't understand, like, why this is complicated. Like, I do, because it's money, right? I mean, I get it, but it's so absurd, though, right? Like, it's so ridiculous.
It is. It's completely ridiculous. Moving on, Spence Garcia. I don't know if we did this on the last show, but it's now been confirmed, the date and everything. December 5th, AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, which is near Dallas, Texas, will be on Fox pay-per-view. Also, the undercard seems to have been filled out. Sebastian Fundora will be the co-main event against Jorge Cota, Lopez Santana, Ceja versus Ramirez. Not a great undercard, to be quite honest. I'm not surprised, though, because Spence Garcia is probably more expensive than Charlo Rosario and Charlo Derevchenko, even combined, right? I'd maybe make that argument that Spence Garcia is more expensive. But damn, could they get anything better for Fundora here? Like, the guy looked amazing in his last fight. He's fighting Jorge Cota, the guy that gets beat up by everyone. Oh, I hate this.
They love throwing Cota to the wolves, don't they?
They do.
Like, they gotta.
Dude, Cota's fought everyone on the low, okay, and he just gets beat up.
I feel like he did something to someone to PBC. They're like, hey, go fight Fundora. Go get beat up, right? There was an instance. This is back like in 1999 or 2000, where Ray Ordonez was like a star shortstop for the Mets, and him and the backup shortstop got into a fight on the team bus, like a fist fight, right? And the next day they were playing Arizona, and Randy Johnson was pitching. So Ordonez said, "I need a day off. You go face Randy Johnson, right? Like, you pissed me off. Now you have to go over 4 with 3 strikeouts, right? I feel like that's what happened with Cota and PBC. He's gonna get destroyed again after they fed him to Charlo and other. It's like, Cota's not the guy. Like, he's gonna get beat up. He's gonna get demolished again
in a pay-per-view co-main event. Man, that's just sad. That's such a bad card on the low. Spence Garcia, I think, is a really good fight. It's a quality fight, but that undercard is just not good at all.
Fundora just beat up Gallimore. Gallimore is better than Cota, right? So, like, let's move him in the right direction. Like, let's give him a better opponent.
Where's Ndamas at, man? Pay him. Even though he's on top rank, I don't care. Like, get me that, like, that guy that we know that can really pressure him, like, you know, give him some issues. Like, who gives a fuck if he's a top rank, honestly? But it's, you know, pay-per-view and
give him Goucher. Goucher's a real guy who's been in there.
Didn't Goucher recently fought?
He lost to Lubin.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, but fuck it, he didn't take that much damage.
No one got hit in that fight.
Yeah, and this is in December too, so we got time.
Plenty of time, yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense. Or just throw Lubin in there with Fundora. Let's see who the next prospect is to fight Charlo. Fuck it, like, this be a little bit risky.
They don't want to risk Lubin taking another L. Lubin was like one of their biggest prospects for a while. They don't want him to take. I'm not saying he would take an L. They don't want to risk it.
And he didn't look that great against Cachet, to be honest. I know we didn't talk about that much, but he did not look that good against Cachet. That was one of those fights where it was like, oh, this is the old Lubin again. Maybe he's still not ready for the top guys. That's what made me think. Fundora, though, he looked like the next day of Benavidez when he beat up Nathaniel Gallimore, man. That was amazing. What's not amazing, though, is Kell Brooks saying that he's not going to go with his trainer, Dominic Ingle, fighting Crawford. He's going to train by himself, I guess in his garage or whatever. What the fuck is this, man? Like, this made me hate the fight so much more because it's clearly Kell Brook not giving a damn and just training on his own. Not serious. Maybe he's just trying, just to cut weight secretly via some substances. I don't know, but it just doesn't seem like this is a recipe for success for Kell Brook. Gary?
I thought this was a joke, right? I was like, am I reading an Onion article here? He's going to train himself in the biggest fight of his life? No, this is real.
He negotiated the deal on his own for the Crawford fight. That's smart. Don't have any lawyers with you reading contracts, guys. Yeah, he's going to train himself.
I don't even know what to make. I mean,
well, he's training in Spain. So let's put it that way. But he's
taking his money and leaving, right? Like, he's done with boxing after this. Yeah. I mean, I was a Kell Brook fan. Remember 2 years ago when I said he was going to be a world champion at 147. I mean, that's obviously not going to happen. That was an error prediction. But, like, he's whatever. This just better not be a pay-per-view. Like, it better not be.
Santiago saying in the chat, if they make Crawford Brook pay-per-view, that shit is getting streamed. That's so good.
We'll put the link down below.
Scott Brown talking about the last topic we were talking about with Sebastian Fundora, saying Madrimov has got to fight a PBC guy or join PBC. That's largely right because PBC has the lion's share of the top talent at 154. Fundora and Madrimov would be a great fight because I would get to see Fundora beat up Rob's favorite fighter right now, Madrimov.
That's what I was going to say. Like, doesn't Madrimov destroy him? I mean, doesn't Fundora destroy Madrimov?
Absolutely. It's not even close. He dog walks him. He makes.
I think Lubin and Goucher outbox Madrimov. Madrimov's last fight where he fought a guy who wasn't the slickest boxer in the world, but a decent boxer, gave him all types of trouble. Now Madrimov won for sure, right? Like, but like he didn't look good against the boxer, right? Like, Goucher is an excellent boxer. Lubin's an excellent boxer. Like, I think either of those guys beat Madrimov. There's no disrespect to Madrimov.
No, hold on. Jonathan in the chat saying lion's share. Nice one, Matt. I didn't even think I was doing a pun there for the Charlos, but damn it, my bad, guys. I'm just so witty. That's all natural. Moving on though, it seems like Chocolatito and Juan Francisco Estrada, the rematch, which was like dead in the water not too long ago because of the money being demanded, now looks like it's 80-90% complete per Chocolatito. Gary, your thoughts on this pound for pound level fight happening hopefully soon?
Let's hope that it happens because this is going to be. I know Chocolatito was the one that got the push. If Estrada beats him in the rematch, who's got the better legacy? Like, who was the better smaller weight class guy? Like, I kind of feel like it's Estrada.
No, it's still Chocolatito.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can pull up the resumes right now. You talk, I'll pull up the resumes so we can compare
it. Either way, this is a great fight. It's a fan-friendly fight, obviously. And it's a fight for legacy. Like, Estrada is on the verge. I mean, I think he's already a Hall of Famer, but he's like on the verge of being like an elite all-time great little man. Like, in that conversation of the Ricardo Lopez's and the Chocolatito, like in that group, the Michael Carbajal, he's on the verge of being in the group of the all-time great little men. And a win over here would certainly propel him into that. Now, Chocolatito's already in the conversation, right? Like, Chocolatito's already cemented his legacy as one of the all-time great little men. And little men don't get any love. Ivan Calderon is still not in the Hall of Fame. That's a crime in Italy. Ivan Calderon was great. Like, and he like And he's not going to get in this time because the ballot is so stacked. Like, we need to start an Ivan Calderon for the Hall of Fame, like, committee and push. There's no reason why he's not in the Hall of Fame, right? Like, there's no, like, the people who get in. Who had a better career, Donald Curry or Ivan Calderon, right? Calderon was such a little guy that no one really paid attention to him. And that's a shame.
I'm looking at the resumes right now. It's comparable. I will say that. I think Gonzalez has had a lot more success for a lot longer, of course. That's a little bit helpful for his case. And I think he had far more success in the lower weight classes against top, like the lower, meaning like light flyweight, stuff like that, than Estrada. Estrada has really found his home at super flyweight, had a lot of success there and now, but that's been a lot more recent success. Chocolatito has been dominant for a near decade. And again, fighting top level guys. Like he fought Katsunori Takayama like fucking 2009. Okay. That's 11 years ago, man. Like, and that was at 105. That was 105 pounds. So like it's just different. You know, like it's not that like Estrada will have an automatic better resume or Gonzalez has an automatic better resume. Gonzalez is just longevity is unique. You know, he's been fighting pound for pound level guys for 10, 12 years.
That doesn't happen in small weight classes. I mean, it doesn't happen.
Yes, it does not happen in the small weight classes. And the fact that he's had his rejuvenation, his renaissance right now, I think is one of those things where regardless of if he loses to Estrada, you can't take away the Kid Yafe fight that I think most people did not pick him to win. And he went out there and torched him in a vintage style. Like that's sort of the same way of how like I think Pacquiao's legacy improved in a detectable way after the Thurman fight. Like even though it's just one fight and it was later on in his career, you can just tell the perception out there by people changed. And that's happened with Roman Gonzalez already. But regardless, both guys have fights, I think, in October 23rd in Mexico City. That's right. The DAZN card. That if both guys win that really their respective tune-ups and that really good card, in my opinion, then both guys will be fighting probably first quarter next year. And hopefully, to be honest, they have this in like Mexico City. Like the fact that they're having their tune-ups in Mexico City, why not have the the rematch in Mexico City? That would make the most sense to me. Not in LA, not in Texas. Just do it in Mexico City.
It's too much of a home game for Estrada if they do it in Mexico City. I mean, look, I'm fine with it. But I'm saying if you're Chocolatito, like, I'm not fighting him in Mexico City.
Fuck it, do it in Havana. Do it in like on a boat in Havana Harbor. Because it's still like the global South in Latin America, right? And it's probably like equidistant from Mexico. I mean, from Mexico and Panama, right? So why not? Shout out to the Castro regime. Moving on. Speaking of the little guys, though, Kazuto Ioka versus Kosei Tanaka looks to be made for New Year's Eve this year. Yes, I love Japanese New Year's Eve. The best time of the year for a boxing fan by far. And if this fight is the crown jewel of this New Year's Eve, fuck yeah. I'm excited. Gary, your thoughts?
All-time great fights that name redacted will not watch. This one right here. I mean, you're right. New Year's Eve Japanese boxing is awesome, right? I mean, I feel like it's like a late Christmas for the hardcore boxing fan. Like these great Japanese fighters, and they always have great fights, right? Like they don't match them up against tune-ups. You get great fights on this day, and this is the crown jewel, right? I'm so into this fight. You guys know, I think Ioka is criminally underrated, and I think he's the better boxer, so I think he wins this fight. I think there's more things he can do, but I could be wrong. Tanaka could go in there and destroy him. Like that could happen. But I'm going to go with Ioka. I'm just glad that this thing is made. This is like, if I could make 10 fights, like in all boxing, like you throw the managers and the promoters and the politics away, this fight's on the list. This is one of like the 10 best fights you can make in boxing. So I'm just glad we're getting it. And like, it's not my preliminary pick. Like I'm taking Ioka and that's it.
Tanaka's going to beat him up. And
that could happen. Tanaka's great too.
Cannot wait. I pray we can get Roman Gonzalez beating Estrada, Tanaka beating Ioka, and that fight in Japan with Gonzalez and Tanaka. Like, that's the fight I want, to be honest, more than anything, because we didn't get Inoue versus Gonzalez, so this is the second best thing for like that passing the torch moment with the next best guy. Tanaka's been, a pound for pound guy for a while as well with Inoue. Both guys are the next generation of the low weight classes, and both guys have seemingly been avoided by Roman Gonzalez. So that's what I want, please.
If Chocolatito wins, is there any chance we could make that fight at 115 with Inoue and Chocolatito? Because it has to happen. It's got to be a passing of the torch or not a passing of the torch if Roman Gonzalez wins, right? Like, Inoue can still make 115. Like, we can still make that fight.
I hope so. I mean, he should be able to make the weight. It's only like 3 pound difference, right? Like, he should be able to make that weight. And if not, fuck it, do a catch weight, do whatever. Like, that's one of those fights that we cannot let off the table for like our generation of boxing
for historical reasons, right? Like, it has to happen.
Yeah. It would be like if we never got Mayweather Pacquiao. Even though that fight didn't turn out to be great, I still think universally we can all agree we're better off that we actually got it than if we didn't. We have to agree on that. If we don't agree on that, then what's the fucking point?
And we're better that we got Pacquiao Marquez 4 and closure to that.
I agree with that. That was like getting closure for that series was, at least in hindsight, is more important than the closure of Mayweather Pacquiao. But if Mayweather Pacquiao was a good fight, then that wouldn't be the case, right?
With the Pacquiao Marquez thing, I thought we got closure in the third fight when Marquez beat him clearly, right? And then the decision about the Pacquiao, I'm like, oh, this is a travesty, right? And then in the fourth fight, you could see neither guy was going to let this thing go to distance. This was not going to this card, right? And you got the vicious knockout. So that ended great. The Pacquiao Mayweather, it was what it was. It wasn't a great fight. That Mayweather clearly won, which is like kind of how I always saw it going. Even if they fought when they were in their absolute prime, I don't think the fight goes much differently. So I think you did get closure there. Like, I think Mayweather outboxes Pacquiao at any weight class at any time in their career.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you can have that take.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think that the majority of boxing fans do not feel like that fight was climatic in any way, and they don't feel like they got closure with the Mayweather-Pacquiao saga to a degree. But digressing,
if that fight happened in 2010 or 2011, how do you think it looks? I think it looks remarkably similar to what we saw in whatever it was, 2015 or 2016.
Yeah, just faster paced because they're a little bit younger, right? Like they're a little more athletic. That's the only difference. Moving on, though, WBO has sanctioned Jamel Herring versus Carl Frampton. The winner must face Shakur Stevenson. I love this. First off, I didn't like the idea of Herring versus Shakur Stevenson before Herring versus Frampton. I felt like that was just a little bit disrespectful to Carl Frampton, who's been around for a while. Was he a multiple division champion, right? And also, I really like the idea of a Jamel Herring Carl Frampton fight and the winner facing Shakur Stevenson. I think that makes a lot more sense than Shakur Stevenson facing Jamel Herring and then maybe facing Carl Frampton. I like this option a lot more, to me personally. To me, makes a lot more divisional sense, because especially since Shakur just moved up to 130, while the other two have been fighting here for at least a few more fights, especially Carl Frampton, and Herring has been there for a while now. I mean, he's been there for a few years now since he moved down from 135. So overall, I like this move. I like the matchups, and I like where it's leading in terms of the division. Gary, your thoughts?
I love this fight, and I was always one that kind of limited Herring. Like, Herring's not that good. Like, I like Herring. I love his story. I root for him every time he fights. I just don't think he's very good. He's very good. Now, he's maximized. Like, what they've done over there with VMAC and that camp, they've got the very best out of him. Now I feel like Frampton's being underrated. Like, everyone says Frampton has no chance, and we're already making the poster for Herring versus Shakur Stevenson. Frampton's got a chance to win this fight. Frampton's got a lot of good wins. Frampton's beaten a lot of good fighters. Like, I feel like Herring, who everyone's overlooked,
he's being Hall of Fame fighters, not just good fighters. He has Hall of Fame names in his resume.
Chris Avalos.
I was going to say Leo
Santa Cruz,
and Nonito Donaire.
And Nonito Donaire. That's right.
And that win, I mean, in hindsight, I know I clowned that fight when it was made and even after that fight. But then Donaire went down to 118 and arguably almost beat Nao Inoue. So it is what it is.
I picked Donaire in that fight because I always pick Donaire because I'm just a big Donaire guy, right? Like,
You picked Donaire against Frampton?
Yeah. I just not really? That I really think that he'd win just because I really like Donaire. I really, really do. I don't know why. I even like when he was coming up and icing people like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I was always a big Donaire fan. Like when he was posterizing, what was the guy? Vic Darchinyan, right? Like, and Fernando Montiel, when he was like getting all these posts, I was like a big fan of him.
And plus, he's a nice guy.
And he doesn't look like an athlete, right? Like it's like guys who just kind of look like Chris Paul. Like Chris Paul does those State Farm commercials because he looks like he can be a State Farm agent, right? Like he's 6 foot tall. Like I don't know. Donaire kind of has that look to him. It's like this guy can do that. That's incredible.
I love like the everyday man in like boxing. They just fuck up people. Those guys are awesome. Moving on. Thoughts on Shakur Stevenson versus the winner? Does he beat regardless of who wins? Is this just the holding place for Shakur's belt?
Here's my thing. I want to pick Herring. I don't see any way Frampton can beat Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson is too versatile, too big, right? Jamel Herring reminds me a little bit of Joet Gonzalez. That's why I think that's Shakur Stevenson.
Oh, I'm picking Shakur. man. Oh, you think Jamel Herring reminds you of Joet Gonzalez? Oh, fuck. So Shakur's going to win every second of the fight? Awesome.
Who looked phenomenal in his last fight, by the way. Joet Gonzalez looked awesome in his last fight. He will be a world champion, just like I said, when he got dominated by Shakur Stevenson. And Joet Gonzalez, that was an eliminator fight, wasn't it? That he fought against Mariaga?
Sure.
I think so. So he may be getting that shot sooner rather than later. I told you, Joet Gonzalez is good. I was the only one who said he was good. And I stand alone on that island, and I stand correct.
Aren't we getting Navarrete versus Madaleno for that vacant belt at 126? Because Michael Conlon went down to 122.
Yeah.
Right. Shakur moved up and vacated. Emmanuel Navarrete is at 126 and staying there. And they were talking about, I think, on the Navarrete Vieira fight, right? That card that happened this last weekend. I've just watched the main event, so I didn't watch really in depth, and I didn't listen to commentators that much. But I think they mentioned him fighting Magdaleno next. Isn't that for the vacant belt?
Magdaleno didn't want the fight. Magdaleno opted out because the money wasn't good.
Sure, Magdaleno.
I want to fight Navarrete. Like Navarrete looks slow, but like the volume and the pressure, like he's gonna be really tough. I wanted to see how he looked at 126 against a good fighter. I think Ruben B is a really good fighter. He's fine. He's good.
He looked good.
Go. Yeah.
I don't think he's going to dominate the division in any way.
No.
Like I think Warrington beats him, to be honest. I think even guys like Shushan could give him a lot of issues due to just like matching him for volume and style and maybe being a little bit better athletically than Navarrete. But he's one of those guys that just keeps coming forward, just keeps throwing punches, and like it looks really simple and basic, but kind of just does it, and he's really effective at it.
That's why he should have stayed at 22 and made a fight with Brandon Figueroa. That would have been so good. So many punches.
Yeah, it's not happening.
I think he did it at 26, right? Because Brandon Figueroa can't stay at 22 much longer.
Yeah, after Ray Vargas beats him up, he has to beat him
Ray
up.
Vargas ain't beating Brandon Figueroa. I promise you that.
Dude, Seha beat him up.
He was a lightweight in that fight, right? A junior lightweight. He was 130 pounds.
Ray Vargas is like 6'2". Okay,
he's not good though, right? He's not good.
He's good. He's just not. He doesn't have the volume that Navarrete or Brandon Figueroa have. That's the difference.
Or the power, or really any skills. I don't really know what he's good at. Like if I said what makes him good, nothing really.
Navarrete and Figueroa, I would say, are not powerful punchers.
For volume, like they're not powerful punchers. But for guys with that kind of volume, yeah, they carry some good snap.
Dude, like Figueroa's throwing like thousands of punches around, man, and like
whenever
he's putting paper cuts on people's faces. Like no,
he's not. They're not Josh Warrington. They have a lot more pop and snap.
Josh Warrington, talking about underrating people here. Okay, Josh Warrington made Carl Frampton do the stanky leg like a dozen times in their fight in a way that Leo Santa Cruz couldn't do, Scott Quigg couldn't do. Like, he made Frampton look silly.
I so much
silly.
Want Brandon Figueroa to just destroy Josh Warrington, probably stop him, and that we can be done with this conversation and never have to have it again.
I love how like I've become like the Josh Warrington fan.
I just like the only question is, can Warrington stand up for 12 rounds? Because he can't win, but can he go the distance with Figueroa? That's really the only question.
Dude, Josh Warrington's gonna circle around him, turn him, and chew him up on the inside
for 2 rounds, and then he'll stand in and slug with him for the next 10 rounds and lose every minute of the fight.
No, dude, oh my god. Dude, Figueroa almost lost a slugfest to Ceja, man. Like, come on. Come on.
Ceja was beating
the lightweight. Oh my god, get over it, okay?
Ceja was beating Rigondeaux until he got caught with one shot in a fight that you thought shouldn't have been stopped.
Yeah, it should not have been stopped.
I was fine with the stoppage.
Okay, cool.
But Ceja was winning that fight. Like you talk about Ceja,
he was not. No. He was not winning the fight with Rigondeaux. It was a very close competitive fight. It was a slugfest. It was a war. But Rigondeaux was winning, and then he knocked him out.
Okay.
It was ruled a knockout.
It was.
Or a TKO, whatever you want to say. So Rigo has more power, as we've seen.
Does Rigo have more power in his left hand than Figueroa? Yes, he does. Rigo's got a monster left hand for a smaller guy. Like if he fights, if he fights Inoue at 118, either one of those guys might get knocked out at any point. Like because Rigo is such a finely tuned, skilled Cuban boxer, we really underestimate his power. He's got a ton of power in that left hand.
Exactly. So, speaking of like who has more power, Warrington has more power than Brand Figueroa because we've seen him fight top level competition and hurt them. We've seen Figueroa fight one guy that was decent, like as a top 15 name.
2 top 15 names.
Flores
and
okay, fine. 2 guys in the top 15. Okay. And one of them was coming off like multiple knockout losses.
Escondón. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, was Escondón or
he's beat Escondón and he beat
Chucky Flores?
Chucky Flores, yeah. His resume is not bad.
It's not bad, but it's not anything to make you go, wow, yeah, this guy's gonna go up there to 126 and knock out everyone. It's not happening. He hasn't beat anyone in the top 10.
I know Santiago loves, not as much as me, but I know Santiago loves the Figueroa boys too. Santiago, I know you're in the chat. Give me some ammo for this argument.
Help! You need the lifeline. You need
the phone, Santiago.
Oh my god. Anyways, moving on. Let's talk about Ryan Garcia, Luke Campbell being confirmed for December 5th, same day as Spence Garcia. That's gonna be just a really busy day. It feels like. It will be streamed live on DAZN in the U.S. Is it taking place? Where's it taking place? Gary?
I don't know. I didn't see it anywhere in the article. I don't know if there's a date. I mean, if there's a
date.
I don't know if there's a location. I mean,
I do wonder where it's at because if it's in. Anyways, moving on. I do wonder where it's at, if it's in the UK or if it's in the US in terms of just like logistics. Curious about that, but it's not a big deal.
In the UK, that's great because it's on in the afternoon and then we just put the pay-per-view on.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Like if it's in the UK, that means most likely it's early in the day.
If it's in the US, which I would think it has to be because it's Ryan Garcia. That's Golden Boy. I don't know where Golden Boy stands with Canelo right now.
But they're not selling tickets, are they? Because if they're selling tickets, then they would have announced it being in Texas or something like that, and a venue, so they can start selling tickets. I would presume that they didn't mention a venue or a place because they're putting it in a bubble somewhere, and therefore it doesn't really matter as much.
It doesn't. But if you tell Ryan Garcia you're traveling to England to go fight a guy with zero name appeal, oh boy, that's a rough. No, I'm not going over there. I am not doing that, right? I know there's probably no fans, so it doesn't really matter that much. But it's like the optics of me making the only name, him and Ortiz, really the only names I have left on my stable after this Canelo thing gets figured out and he leaves. And now I'm making him go over to the UK. Like, what kind of promoter are you?
Yeah, I wonder if PSK is saying that they're doing it in Garcia's hometown. I don't see that anywhere. It says information regarding the venue and undercard will be announced shortly. But anyways, digressing.
I hope it is because that's a great day of boxing. I can just watch boxing all day, right? Like that's awesome.
Yeah, if it's in the UK, I hope.
Yeah.
I don't know. Regardless, though, I love this fight. Ryan Garcia is going to knock out Luke Campbell and get a better win under his belt than Devin Haney, which shouldn't be hard since like every prospect is able to do that, including George Kambosos, Teofimo Lopez. Like we're gonna get to a point now where all the hype that Devin Haney had is like stupid because everyone else in his division that's a prospect has exponentially better wins than he does. It's gonna be sad.
And I think this is a great fight. I think Campbell wins. I think Campbell wins enough rounds. If he doesn't get hit with something big, which he could, I think if he stands on his feet for all 12 rounds, Campbell wins too many rounds. Like he's a better boxer than Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, he is. He is, but I don't think he is. No, he has a good pedigree. I don't know. I would this way. I've never been blown away by Luke Campbell. I think Luke Campbell is completely serviceable. He's a B-level guy in terms of like everything. He's an 85 out of 100. Like, that's how kind of he is. What, Gary? Why do you look like that?
I would not want to take Professor Hunter's class. Like, give me another professor. I don't want him grading my papers. He's a little harsh.
The B's aren't bad.
He's better than a not bad. He's a B+ fighter. Easy B+ fighter.
He is average. Fighter. He's above average.
He's much above that. He's a good fighter. He can't beat Loma, who's an A+ fighter, but he's good.
Richard Comey versus Luke Campbell. Who wins?
After that last one, and I was a big Comey fan. After that last crap I just saw at Comey, I'm taking Luke Campbell.
Seriously? Because he got knocked out by Teofimo Lopez, who has
got destroyed by a 19-year-old. How old is that?
Dude, but Teofimo Lopez can knock out Luke Campbell easily. Let's be honest about that. Who you picked in that fight?
Teofimo Lopez.
By knockout.
Right?
Yeah. Dude has insane power. And he's a fucking welterweight. That's brain down to lightweight. Okay. Luke Campbell is a guy that's not the best athlete, not the fastest guy, not the most pop. Decent boxer, decent technique, works around the fundamentals, and that's it. That gets you far in boxing if you're really good at fundamentals, but that's it.
That's a fun fight, though. If you could make Comey versus Luke Campbell, just stylistically, the boxer, the straight up pure boxer against the force of that Comey, that's a fun fight. I don't know who I'd pick in that fight. I got to see Comey again to see how he bounces back after that destruction, but that's a fun fight.
Comey's always had issues with the guys that like outfight him, not outbox him. Like Robert Easter defeated him by just outfighting him. Like it wasn't like he outboxed him. Denis Shafikov outfought him on the inside. Teofimo Lopez beat him to the punch on the inside. Like that's just kind of what happens with Richard Comey. Luke Campbell is not a guy that beats you to the punch ever.
No. Although I thought Comey won the Easter fight, but that was a fun fight though. I thought Comey won that fight.
You can think that. That's fine. But, like, again, Easter didn't outbox him enough.
No, it wasn't. Yeah.
Shafikov didn't outbox Comey. Both fights, you can argue Comey won. But regardless, he lost them. And you cannot make argument that he was outboxed in those fights. Those were wars. And even, like, the Lopez loss, like, that wasn't where he got outboxed. He just, he got beat to the punch by the better puncher. That happens. Campbell's not that. Can Campbell be on the outside, pump the jab out, keep the distance, set up traps, and just keep the fight at like sort of a low simmer and win rounds? Because that's what he would have to do. I don't know. I don't know if he can do that with Ryan Garcia, for fuck's sake. That's why I'm picking Ryan Garcia to win. But I don't think Luke Campbell can do that.
No, look, Ryan Garcia has the higher ceiling, obviously, than Luke Campbell. And he's got good wins. So Ryan Garcia's resume is not bad. It's not. For someone at this stage in their career. But I think we still haven't. He's got since he got in the Chapo camp, like he's blown everybody out. He's not going to blow Luke Campbell out. So has he fixed enough? Okay, maybe. I mean, I think that's his best chance to win is to get him out with something big early. I don't see that happening, so I take Luke Campbell.
Will you discount the win like you're trying to do with Teofimo Lopez?
I didn't discount.
You tried. You attempted, Gary. If you're saying that, like, the only way he can win is if he blows him out early, when he blows him out early, I do not want that to be well, he only blew him out early. We don't know how good Ryan Garcia is still. I don't want to hear that.
If he blows him out early, I'll come on and say that I think Ryan Garcia beats Hector Tanahara. Because Hector Tanahara's prayer at the victory is that he outboxes him, right?
The date is October 12th, 2020. It's a Monday. The time is 3:17 p.m. That's when Gary said and promised, everyone listening right now, promised that when Ryan Garcia knocks out Luke Campbell within, let's say, 4 or 6 rounds.
I was going to say 5, so let's go 5. Within 5 rounds or less.
Within 5 rounds or less, Gary will come on this show and say that Ryan Garcia beats Hector Tanahara. Oh, my God. I cannot wait. Please, Ryan, do it. Only for that reason. I don't care for anything else.
I'm going to go MIA if that happens.
Oh, it's so good. Moving on. Speaking of something that's not so good. Luis Ortiz versus Alexander Flores, set for November 7th on Fox. Gary, do you have any thoughts about this? Because I have none.
On a side note, is Luis Ortiz the best heavyweight to never win a world title? Or let's refer to that in the four belt weight era, Is he the best to ever not win a world title?
The 4-belt era starting with 1990.
Let's say, yeah, the last 25 years.
Let me think. Did what's his name? The was he Polish? Eastern European?
Andrew Golota?
Did Andrew Golota have a belt?
Mm-mm.
Ooh. Might be up there, right? That's a good one, right? That was a good little poll right there.
Good poll for Matt.
Look at me, man. So proud of myself. Trying to think of like other names that would automatically like Chris Arreola to a degree, but no.
Nah.
He had a good
The other name is Dillian White.
No. David Hay? No, not really. But I wouldn't put Luis Ortiz as better than those guys. Like they're all kind of like the same thing. Yeah. Like there's not a clear like divide of like this guy clearly the best of all time that never won a belt and everyone else is below him. It's like, no, there's a bunch of good guys that didn't win belts at heavyweight in the last 30 years. But none of them are like clear like, oh man, they just missed out. They were in an era that was too deep for them and they just missed the boat. Like, no, that's not really the case. It feels like.
The interesting ones are Tommy Morrison and Ray Mercer because they had the WBO when like there was debate on whether or not that was a real champion, right? Like Morrison was fun. I don't know, like Ortiz is probably too skilled for him. But Morrison could crack. Like, he was fun. And then Ray Mercer, like if we say Ray Mercer never held a legitimate belt, which is like kind of the debate then whether or not WBO was legitimate, then Mercer's the best one.
PSK saying Povetkin only won a WBA regular belt. Santiago saying Razor Ruddock. Razor Ruddock never won a belt?
No, you're right. Good call, Santiago.
Razor Ruddock might be the guy then.
Yeah.
He probably is. Well,
not if you say Ray Mercer never held a legitimate belt, right? Then Ray Mercer's the guy.
Sure, I guess.
Ray Mercer arguably beat Lennox Lewis on points. I know he didn't get the decision, but most people think Mercer won that fight.
You gotta realize, Gary, I come from a different era, right? Like my immediate thoughts of Ray Mercer is not anything in boxing.
It's him knocking out the UFC guy.
It's him knocking out Tim Sylvia in some podunk like MMA organization. That's the first thing that I always think of when it comes to Ray Mercer. Different era, man. I'm sorry. Yeah, sure. I mean, I not to discount what you're saying about Ray Mercer. I'm just not one that has the knowledge or experience to say, yeah, sure, or no, you're wrong, Gary. I don't know.
You want to treat yourself to something special, Matt? Go back and watch Ray Mercer versus Tommy Morrison. It's a fun fight.
Probably go back and watch the Rummy's Corner on like the 90s era. That's a different video. He has some good content. Anyway, speaking of heavyweights, though, last topic of the day, then we get out of here. Dave Allen versus Christian Hammer is on the Usyk Chisora card. And I honestly only added this topic because I thought Rob was still going to be on the show. I wanted to make fun of Dave Allen. I have no real thoughts about this fight other than like it's actually like a decent matchup in terms of like two guys I don't care about at heavyweight. Other than that, Gary, any last thoughts on our last topic?
That's going to be on the untelevised portion, correct?
No, that's the co-main event.
It's not the co-main event, is it really?
I don't. No, I don't know, Gary. I don't. It can't be, but who knows?
I'm confused how long you added that, but I guess if Rob was going to be.
Again, if Rob was going to be on, I want to make fun of Dave Allen, man. Okay. Don't judge me, okay?
In other news that nobody cares about, the ALCS Game 2 is on right now.
I put on like Hector Tenahara topics when you're on purely because like it's you. Same with like UK topics for Rob. Of course. I don't care about these topics. I'd never care about Tenahara. I'd never care about Dave Allen. But I know that you guys do, so I always want to support you guys. That's what good friends do, Gary.
I appreciate it.
Hold on. I'm curious to see if this is actually the co-main event now. That'd be so awesome.
A garbage fight. I mean, again, it'll be action. Someone's gonna probably get knocked out. To me, that's like what it was. What was the guy's name that almost beat Tyson Fury?
Oh, Otto Wallin.
Otto Wallin. Who did he fight in his last fight?
It wasn't Kaufman, was it?
Yes, it was Kaufman.
It was Travis Kaufman?
To me, that fight, like, I don't care about this at all.
No, that's a good comparison. That's a good comparison, even though Otto Wallin is far better than Dave Allen.
He's not far better than anybody.
Actually, this will not be the co-main event. It looks like Lee Selby versus George Kambosos Jr. would be the co-main event.
If I had to guess. Good co-main event.
Yes, but to be fair, Dave Allen, Christian Hammer is clearly the third best fight on this card right now. So it'll get top billing still.
They can add to it. They can add something to it.
I feel like all the matchroom names are taken right now. Like Katie Taylor's taken for a big fight. Kell Brook's taken for a big fight. Buatti just fought. Who else could he get? Billy Joe Saunders, maybe?
I think they're still holding out for him for a better fight with Andrade or Canelo. I don't think they're going to add it.
Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders. Just make that as the co-main event.
Who'd you say?
Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith.
Oh, yeah. Do that. I
Why
mean, they're
not?
not gonna, because that would be the main event, but yeah.
Of course. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for today's show. I want to remind everyone that Trending Now Network on YouTube, we have our new political podcast, General Strike Podcast. I was live early this morning with a live stream of the Supreme Court Justice confirmation hearing. Yes, I said that. That's as boring as you can imagine. I did play some good clips at the end, though, of the show if you want to fast forward and catch some David Graeber clips that just came out since he just recently passed away. What else? Everyone go check out UK Rob Boxing on YouTube. Go support his new channel. And of course, as I've been stating in the last few shows, if you have any ideas for podcasts, for content ideas, please let us know. I want to help produce content that you guys want. And if that means that you guys want the creative control and you just want a platform to create content, that's what we're here for. So let us know. Also, our new Patreon page has been completely rebranded. So go to patreon.com/Trending Now Network. Link is below in the description if you want to see the new rebranded Patreon page with merch. We have sweatshirts, t-shirts, mugs, stickers. We have a bunch of other stuff, posters. So if you guys want some merch, head over there as well. New merch line coming out next week as well. Find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, all social media platforms. Hit the like button and share the show, all that fun stuff. And remember, always, fuck the police and free Palestine. Gary, final thoughts.
Good show today. It was good. Rob, it's too bad we had a Dave Allen topic just for you. And then,
so mad.
Showed us. But that's okay. We'll be back later this week for the to get into the Kendo Castaneda fight.
Yes.
Kendo Castaneda should fight next after he beats Josue Vargas. He should fight Lewis Ritson. Same weight class. And me and Rob can have at it.
Sure. Gary, you guys can do a show every week breaking them up if you want, okay?
Find me on all forms of social media at 3D Boxing, 3D Boxing blog. From Texas to the world, thank you and God bless.
Peace.